Hey everybody, this is TJMan461, and today I am once again looking at the Goosebumps TV show, because quarantine has me watching stuff like this. If you haven't seen my first Goosebumps review, check it out, link will be below. The episode I'm looking at today is one that's not quite as good as Night of the Living Dummy 2. It is the episode, You Can't Scare Me, which is regarded as one of the less good episodes of the series, but let's dive in and see if it's really as bad as people say. Now, I never read the book for this one as a kid, so I don't have that to go off of, so this review will just be me reviewing the episode as it is. Without further ado, let's get into the review. Haha, that rhymed. The episode begins with a little girl named Leah and her grandpa running around a muddy swamp-looking place. Soon, Leah drops her ball in the mud, and her grandpa tells her he can pick it up, since she's little and could get hurt. She looks a little too happy that her grandpa, who has to walk with a cane, is basically risking breaking his hip by getting the ball. Anyway, suddenly a mud monster rises up out of the ground and sucks the grandpa in, and then begins to chase the little girl. Damn, for a kids show this is a really dark opening. I know it's a legend and it didn't really happen, but still. The episode reveals it was this girl Courtney who was telling the story. She was telling the story for a report for school. Now, since Courtney is basically the perfect student, there are two bullies who don't like her. These two rad dudes are named Eddie and Hat? I'm gonna assume and hope that's a nickname, cause if it isn't, then your parents hate you, my guy. Oh wait, I just looked it up. His real name is Herbie, so yeah, that's better.
People have a need to create monsters. It helps us believe that the real world isn't as scary as the monsters we dream up.
She talks like a book.
Well, yeah, this is based off a book. I'd assume she'd sound like that, dummy. Anyway, what she said there is actually really cool. I don't know if this quote was in the book or not, but either way, this is a genuine, good quote. In the very minuscule chance that you watch this, I want to tell you, good job, Mr. Stein.
But do you have proof that monsters exist?
Yeah, you're looking at one. His name's Courtney.
Goosebumps again with the epic roasts. Going back to Hat and Eddie, Hat gets the snake out of his backpack that they're going to use to scare Courtney. Their goal is to scare her to prove she isn't all perfect. But to be honest, I'm cheering for Courtney here. I mean, these two are jealous that Courtney is a freaking female Chad. I mean, listen to this.
And we're looking forward to hearing yours, if you can ever get it out of your computer.
But it really is stuck in there.
If you want to download it to a disk, I'm sure I can help you print it.
She's awesome. I'm not even being sarcastic. Courtney in this episode is an amazing character. You'll see why soon. So after this, we cut to lunch, where the two virgins put their plan in action. But before this, Courtney gets a little too personal with her teacher.
And your family?
How nice of you to ask. They're fine.
What a kiss up.
Well, you have a nice day, Courtney.
You too, Mr. Finley. You're not eating?
No, I left my lunch at home today.
I already get to lunch.
Then please, have a little of mine.
Oh, no, I couldn't.
Please, I insist. My mom, she always packs too much anyway.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. Courtney's just amazing, guys. However, the horrible twist was Hat and Eddie put the snake in Courtney's lunch, so there was a risk that the teacher would think Courtney did it on purpose. But then this happens. Wait, why is the snake black when he pulls it out, and then a different color when he throws it? That's an error. Anyway, Courtney then picks up the snake and does this.
Sorry, Mr. Finley, I had no idea. Someone must have put it in my bag.
When I was watching this episode, I was laughing so hard because Courtney is freaking badass. This adult man is scared of a little snake, but Courtney is over here petting it. Anyway, in the next scene, Eddie and Hat walk through the hall to discuss their next idea.
That's the thing about computers these days. Anyone can figure them out. Oh, sorry, Eddie. I didn't see you.
Aha, yes, Courtney strikes again. Anyway, Eddie and Hat go to the science room to get a tarantula as a feeble attempt to scare Courtney again. However, Courtney and the teacher walk in, so they have to hide in the closet.
Courtney, you know you don't need to do any extra work. You've already got an A+.
Yeah, but I was hoping I can get something higher.
There is no such thing.
You sure? We're in science class. We can invent one.
Guys, I can't get over how awesome Courtney is. While they are in the closet, the tarantula escapes and Hat has to cover Eddie's mouth. Soon they yell for help because they don't know how to brush the spider off themselves. Although this scene actually did make me a teeny bit uncomfortable because I hate spiders. Anyway, Courtney hears them, so she opens the closet and this happens.
Don't move.
Guys, Courtney is more brave than me. She's so perfect, guys. In the next scene, Courtney explains how writing her report that she did for the newspaper helped her confront her fears of mud monsters, so that gives Eddie and Hat the idea to go there and scare her. They inform her after class, and she responds like the chatette she is.
Meet Eddie and me at Muddy Creek. After school, we dare you, right, Eddie? Yeah.
You two don't ever give up, do you?
See, I told you she was afraid of mud monsters.
No. I'll be there. I promise.
What the hell? What is that walk? So later that day, Hat is covering Eddie with mud to make him into a mud monster to scare Courtney. Now, Eddie doesn't look any different, so really, how would this work? With how smart Courtney is, she'd literally just say, "Oh, haha, guys, this is clearly just Eddie covered with mud. You two are foolish to think this would work." Soon, as Hat looks for Courtney, the real mud monster comes out to attack him, who he thinks is Eddie at first. Now, I'll be honest, I thought this was Courtney in a costume the first time I watched it, but spoiler alert, it isn't. With that aside, I do want to say the mud monster actually looks really good. It looks a lot like the one on the cover of the original book. And like almost all Goosebumps monsters, they use practical effects, which is always great. What I don't like, however, is the choppy effect they use for the chase scene. Once Hat gets back to Eddie, Hat tries to tell him there's a real mud monster, but since no one can trust anyone in Goosebumps, Eddie doesn't believe him. Then Courtney shows up and tells them they failed, basically, and roasted them one final time.
Isn't it interesting how people keep on trying something that has no chance of succeeding? Here we have two adolescents of average or below intelligence trying to outwit an adolescent of much higher than average intelligence. I'm not bragging, I'm just stating the facts. But what is really interesting is your persistence, what keeps you going.
Haha, I love this girl. Oh no, Courtney, look out!
Don't interrupt. I can feel your anger.
What the hell? So now Courtney talks to a mud monster until the sun comes out to dry up the mud monster. Now, who could be more badass than that? This girl is the Chuck Norris of Goosebumps. Afterwards, Courtney talks to a press about dealing with the monster, and basically is going to become famous and leaves Eddie and Hat in the dust. Or in this case, the mud. Aha, yes, she won! So Eddie and Hat goes to sit down and rethink their life choices, and the twist is that, spoiler alert, I guess the mud monster comes back alive due to the rain, and the episode ends. There's no part 2 or anything to resolve this. Huh. Now, I know I talked about this episode like it's the greatest thing ever, but it actually has quite a few flaws. The main flaws come from the plot. There isn't really a resolution, it just kind of ends. It's basically just these two dudes try to scare a girl and fail. Also, as badass as Courtney is, the last scene is pretty anticlimactic. I mean, the whole episode was building up to this moment, and Courtney just talks to a monster, and the end. I feel like they could have had the mud monster chase Hat and Eddie before Courtney showed up, and have it more climactic that way, by having the mud monster be more of a threat, and corner them or something. Then Eddie and Hat would have thanked her for it, and they'd become friends. I felt like that would have been more satisfying and climactic. Also, the twist isn't really a twist. It's just the monster comes back alive and attacks Hat and Eddie. It's not really a twist, it just kind of leaves the viewer wondering what happens to them. I feel like another way they could have fixed this is by having a part 2. I know this probably would have made it differ from the book immensely, but it would have given a more satisfying conclusion. It could have been a thing where Hat and Eddie tell Courtney that the mud monster wasn't really dead, and they have to work together to defeat it. Anyway, I will admit, because of the anticlimactic battle that the episode was building up to, the lame twist ending, the monster not being very threatening, and it not having many scares besides the tarantula, this episode isn't as good as the others. But it has pretty good deliveries of lines, the writing at some parts is pretty good, like I said before, and the mud monster looks really nice. And Courtney is the greatest character in fiction. Come on, guys. But I can't ignore the heavy flaws this episode has. So, compared to Night of the Living Dummy 2, I'll say this episode is meh. It's not bad, but it's also not great. If they would have fixed the ending, this episode would have been so much better. But sadly, it is what it is. And that's my review. Again, tell me in the comments what episodes you want me to review next, and I'll do so. Not like I get any suggestions anyway. Also, I'm thinking about doing a 100 subscribers special, but I honestly don't even know what to do for it. But in the meantime, I want you guys to know this means a lot to me. The fact that 100 people find me entertaining is amazing. Help me get fame and fortune by liking, commenting, and subscribing, and have a good day.